potential free agents that we might be looking at. So today there was not today, but there was an article on NFL.com where they were essentially highlighting some guys that could potentially be cap casualties, right? Whether we talk about them being restructured or just flat out released solely based on where their contract lies and stuff like that. And it was interesting when you looked at some of the names because there could be some interest with some of these players, man, whether we're talking AFC or NFC. So on this list, a couple of names that they had, they talk about Cole Beasley, wide receiver from Buffalo. Not that I would, know anything about Cole Beasley, the wide receiver from Buffalo or anything like that. I would never smile about a wide receiver from Buffalo. No, not me. No. But Cole Beasley is on this list. Offensive tackle from the LA Chargers, Brian Bulaga, he is up there as well. Kenyon Drake, the running back from the Las Vegas Raiders, he is on this list as a potential cap casualty. Marcus Peters, the corner from the Baltimore Ravens, he is another guy. Obviously, our very own Joe Schobert, he is on this list. And then you get Denver's wide receiver Cortland Sutton. Now, he's up here more as a restructured than a release candidate.
Yeah, but there's no way they're releasing him.
But I say because they just signed him to an extension, I think it was a year ago. But they said he's definitely probably a restructured candidate. But then another guy, you have Trey Waynes, the another corner from the Cincinnati Bengals. And then the big name, Carson Wentz from the Indianapolis Colts. Those were the AFC candidates. And then for the NFC, do you have that on your side or no?
Yeah, I'll pull it up.
All right. Yep.
Give me 1 second. I got to scroll up. I was scrolling along with you as you were listing them off. Okay. So this one, NFC, dude. Mm-hmm. First name. Or no, it's the second name. But first name's Landon Collins with the Washington Commanders. Second name, Zeke Elliott. You see these numbers?
Dude.
That contract is terrible.
It's insane, dude. Insane.
His cap number's $18 million. His dead cap number's $30 million.
Bro, that's just gross. This making me throw up, bro.
Estimated cap space for the Cowboys minus $22 million right now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's a mess. He might not even be the best running back on the team right now.
And that's the crazy part also, bro, because we saw Pollard really start to take over. I mean, he just looked more twitchier and went just healthier. That was the real part about it, man.
Trey Flowers for the Lions. Eddie Goldman, nose tackle, Chicago Bears. Tyler Higbee, Los Angeles Rams. That's a surprising one. I was surprised by that
as well. Yeah.
It makes sense numbers wise. His cap number is $8 million. His dead cap's $2 million. So you're saving like $5 or $6 million right there. Right. But I don't know. I feel like they were missing him a little bit whenever he was hurt.
Agree. Yeah, I definitely agree.
Eric Kendricks. This one's interesting. Eric Kendricks.
I like
Minnesota Vikings.
I like him a lot now.
Zadarius Smith, Green Bay Packers. His cap hit right now is $27 million. That's insane.
And I hate the fact he had that back injury pretty much all last season, bro. Like, yeah.
Michael Thomas, New Orleans Saints is the last one.
He just restructured his deal.
Yeah.
I think that just released a day or two ago. But, I mean, obviously, when we're looking at this list, man, a couple of names that instantly jump off. For me, man, obviously I thought of Brian Bulaga just because the whole tackle position. And we know he's a proven commodity. He's 32, so he's still not overly old in terms of the O-line position. Veteran guy, Pro Bowler and things like that. But we also know that, he was dealing with a little bit of an injury situation, this past year. Another guy I thought of was Kenyon Drake because we're talking about how, we need another running back, a number 2.
Oh, yeah.
And Kenyon, I mean, he's already shown that even when he went out to Arizona, leaving Miami, that he could bring that to the table. And then obviously even when he went to Vegas, him and Josh Jacobs. So with that, it's like, man, he's intriguing. As much as I don't like to do the division talk, Marcus Peters is another guy because we said, man, if we're going to lose a Joe Hayden potentially, and we're trying to figure out how we're going to improve our secondary, we know we love a J.C. Jackson. We know we were really, infatuated with a Stephon Gilmore. But if those guys aren't available to us or we just feel like they priced themselves out, then a Marcus Peters potentially becomes intriguing as well. Just because
coming off the torn ACL.
Right. So the number is going to be a little bit lower for him, but he is a proven commodity, an all-pro, Pro Bowler caliber player who gets he gets turnovers. That's what he does. And not only would you strengthen your roster, but you would also hurt your division by, taking one of those key players away. So he was interesting to me as well. And then obviously Carson Wentz, just because when we're talking about the quarterback situation, we know that we have a lot that is in play right now. So initially, those were the names that jumped off to me from the AFC, you know? But what about you, man? Who'd you have jump off to you, man?
I'm with you. Brian Balaga. I'm not like head over heels for getting him, but at the same time, he's a guy. He's been around the league. Everything that you mentioned, you know, he can play the positions, banged up a little bit older, but he'd be an upgrade whoever we got right now.
Yeah,
so that would be intriguing. I don't think you pay out the wazoo for him, but if the Chargers cut him, we get him for $5 or $6 million, that could be a significant upgrade for us.
Well, because I do think that you could make a case in terms of the money with him, because with him coming off of the injuries, like I said, with him being a little bit older as well, you know, you negotiate a little bit better, a little bit more of a, not overly incentivized, because we know the Steelers don't do a lot of those type of contracts, but just where you can protect yourself a little bit in terms of first year money versus that second year money with him. I mean, almost in a similar sense to like what we did with Trey Turner. Now, obviously, his number would be a lot higher than Trey's because he's a lot more of a proven commodity and he plays a more higher end position. But I mean, he would become an instant upgrade. He would, no question, be our best offensive lineman if you bring Brian in here. So when you're talking about building up our roster and we're saying, well, hey, man, if we're sticking with the quarterbacks that we currently have in-house in terms of Mason, in terms of Haskins, or even if we're drafting a rookie quarterback, then what do we say we want to do? We want to build up everything else around him. So a Brian Balaga type would definitely fall into that category right there.
Yeah, and as you could see on NFL.com, we don't have as much cap space as we were initially thought a couple weeks ago going in. Now we're down to 28. Hopefully we could get that to maybe 40 or 50. But my point in saying that is we still got to spend wisely. It's not like we just can go out here and be shelling out money left and right. So he could be a nice just piece to add, you know, a guy that's going to start, but you can get him at an affordable price. You know what? Cole Beasley, little speedy slot guy.
Absolutely.
I think could be a little intriguing. I'm surprised you didn't bring him up.
Well, you know, I didn't want to sound overly biased. I was waiting on you to bring him up, but come on now. You know, I love a Cole Beasley type, man. First off, he's tough as nails. I mean, you cut the tape on Buffalo games, man. He's going across the middle. He takes shots. He does not care. He catches that rock. He holds on to it. I like his run after ability. I've also seen him play while injured. Not this past season, but the year before. He spent the whole second half of the season with a knee injury, and we talked about how he still was producing in terms of catch numbers and yardage after the catch. So for me, man, when you talk about a sure-handed receiver, a guy that can create separation in a hurry and who gives you just more run after the catch ability, I mean, think about how we use Ray McCloud. Cole Beasley is like what you want in that position in terms of the productivity, in terms of just the route running and the savviness of being quarterback friendly. So yeah, it's a no-brainer if a Cole Beasley type is available to you and it makes sense numbers wise. Yeah, I would definitely be all for that.
You think they will cut him?
That's the interesting part right now, man, because with Buffalo, I mean, they're stacked in the receiver room still. They have a lot of talent, man. So I could see them potentially saying, you know what, we're going to allow him to test the mark, or we're going to go ahead and release him so that way Gabriel Davis can have an even bigger role, because he's the guy that is really starting to expand on. Granted, he's not a slot, but it's just different, you know, because you know, okay, contract's about to be coming up for Gabriel. He's going to be getting.
Well, they're losing Sanders too, though, right?
Yeah. So it's like when I think of that, it's like, man, I could see them staying with Cole, but I could also see them saying, you know what, we want to get younger. We want to get just a little bit cheaper version at that position, honestly, man, because they still got some guys they got to pay offensively and on the defense side of that ball.
Oh, yeah, for sure. With Josh Allen's contract and stuff, too.
That's the difference, yeah. So it's like you can't keep everybody when you got the quarterback getting 100, you got a linebacker getting paid, you got a corner getting paid. You know, like it's just not how it works. They already got their old line paid. Like everybody can't get paid, baby. Not here.
Right, and that's the reason you're paying Josh Allen is because
okay, force multiply.
Because we've done it how many times with Ben?
Right.
We got to let this receiver walk. We're gonna draft the guy. He's gonna fill in just fine. Man. So that's why you pay Josh Allen. We let Cole Beasley go. Man. All right, we could draft the guy in the second or third round. Yeah. Same production next year. Same production, if not next year and the following year. He's going to be fine for us on a rookie deal, though. Now we can spend that money elsewhere. Yeah, I also have Trey Waynes just for the fact he's a quarterback or cornerback, and I think he's going to be cheap, first-round talent. It's not like he's lived up to that bill throughout his career, but, I mean, we could get him in for a few million or something.
Put it
Yeah,
like
he's
this.
solid.
Trey's been a good player. Like he's a starter in the NFL. He's not a all pro caliber guy. He's not a shadow the number one receiver type of guy, but he is a good quality starter. You win with guys like him. I like his length. I think that he's very fundamental. I like how he gets hands on receivers. That's the other part I like about him. He's not a and run guy. He is a bump and run guy, which is a big difference to me when you're talking about the NFL level with allowing some of these receivers to have free releases. So yeah, I definitely like him, and I think he would probably be the cheapest option that we can go from the cornerback perspective that would still give us good quality results. But I'm not gonna lie, man. If we're talking on this list, I'm looking Marcus Peters.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
The reason I didn't have him is I just don't think they're gonna cut him. If you think they're gonna cut him, 100%.
That's my thing, man. It's like I just don't know how they, because we're looking at his contract, right? And the cap number 15.5, dead cap is 5.5 if they release him. That's the hard part. It's just like, I don't know, because he's still under 32, and we know that's the magic number, right? You got to be under 30. So he still presents that. Yeah, because
I feel like they're going to try to run it back again, at least with Peters and Humphrey one more year. That's my guess. But if they do, I mean, they're that type of organization where they could cut you and they'll replace you pretty good.
Yeah, I mean,
like if they just want to roll with Humphrey and then kind of whoever else they got back there. They one or two of their quarterbacks stepped up.
No, it was Averett. He played really well last year.
He wasn't bad.
That was the guy that we were all kind of surprised by when Marcus Peters first went down. It was like, oh, okay, just attack the guy opposite Marlon Humphrey. But Averett really started to play big, and he really, showed early on in the season that they could trust him out there on the perimeter. So depending on how they feel about him, if they feel like he's played enough that, he's way cheaper of an option, that does potentially become in the conversation. Like I said, I haven't studied Baltimore to that level just yet to see what their true opinions are of Averett versus Marcus Peters right now coming back from an ACL injury, But that is something that is always in play because we do know the business element of it. And who else do they got to get ready to pay also in Baltimore?
Lamar Jackson.
So we know.
Yeah, that's going to happen this offseason.
Exactly. So it's a lot that could go on with that when you're trying to create that money the way that you want to create it, man. So that's why I'm just like, I don't think that's the number one person on their list to release, but I don't think that he's completely above reproach there when you're talking about potentially having to, shell out mega money for Lamar Jackson, and you're looking and saying that, hey, we already had a guy play a full, essentially 17-game schedule, and he wasn't, he was actually playing pretty good for them in terms of Averett. So that's my only thing with that, man.
All right, how about this game? Yeah. Marcus Peters or Stephon Gilmore?
Man. Well, Gilly's obviously the way more consistent player, the way more high-end talent, but he's also going to be a lot more expensive. And that's the other part of it. So
Peters cap number at 15 right now. You think that drops to 7 or 8? Because what were we talking about with Gilmore? We were saying like probably 10 for him.
Yeah, we're saying anywhere between
at least. Oh, no. Actually, Spot Rack had him at 14 a year.
Because I think he's going to get anywhere between I think he'll probably tap in around 15, honestly.
Okay. So, Peters, you're thinking more at 10. That's my thing. He drops to. So at those prices, who are you thinking? Are you leaning Peters maybe?
But at the same time, it really is going to depend on what the quarterback situation is. If we're solely rolling with Mason Haskins or rookie quarterback, then I don't mind spending out that extra $5 million to go get a Stephon Gilmore because I think the higher end talent is only going to help us out. But if we're trying to potentially, play play at both sides and kind of get us a bridge quarterback from free agency as well, well then Marcus Peters because it's a little bit cheaper, right? Because it's going to be just way too much going on with that.
Man, Gilmore at 32. Peters 29. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But the thing too, though, Gilmore is way more fundamentally sound, so I do feel like he will.
Yeah, even at this point in his career,
he's going to age like a fine wine. Whereas Marcus Peters is very easy. He does not necessarily read the route. He doesn't really have nice fundamentals. He just has great ball skills, and when he's playing in coverage, he's looking at the quarterback the whole time, and that's why we say he's susceptible to the double move. He's susceptible to those type of things, but we also know his ability to just get his hand on the football is uncanny. since he's gotten to the league, I mean, it's shown the track record speaks for itself. So they both bring different things to the table. I just think that Gilmore is a more like down in and down out, surefire guy out there. Was with Peters, you have to be concerned a little bit that he could get hit with a double move. And also, when you talk about both their temperaments, Stephon Gilmore, you're not going to get in his head. Marcus Peters, you can get in his head. We've seen Marcus Peters at times, have situations where there's on field. I mean, I remember we were walking off the divisional round game, him and Antonio Brown. He's going at AB because AB was giving him that work. So it's like we've seen that happen before with him. We've seen him have issues with fans before as well. I'm not saying that it's an end all be all, but when we're talking just the context of numbers and just when you're saying either or, those are some of the things that we all consider as well.
We're not signing either dude if Peters becomes available to like a 3 or 4 year deal, right? Anyway,
right.
So that's why maybe the age being 29 for Peters versus 32 for Gilmore is a little bit less of a factor. It's not like you're committing to them for 4 or 5 years.
Right. We're looking for 2 years, 3 years max,
Yeah. Either one. Absolutely. I definitely would like a cornerback, obviously, to pair with Witherspoon. A-Dub.
Now, what about the big you call him A-Dub now?
Yeah.
So he has A-Dub, he has Spoon, he has Kill, like
Spoon.
Spoon.
Yeah, I like that
Spoon,
one.
Yeah.
That's
I just don't know. Yeah, I didn't know which nickname was gonna go with for the guy, But
we'll go with A-Dub for now. No island talk just yet. No island talk.
He's not an island boy.
Not yet. I also got Wentz listed here, but not really in a good way. More just as in if the Colts cut him and we can get him for $10 million. Yeah. I mean, damn. I mean, he still threw for 27 touchdowns and 7 picks last year. You know what I mean?
Well, no. I'm with you 100%. My thing is this. I think the 10 number is going to be extremely low. I don't think he comes in at that low. And even though
probably 15-ish.
Right. And I was going to say, even though we give Carson Wentz a hard time, he still would be our best quarterback without a doubt. That's the nature of it. And that's kind of like how I look at this quarterback situation. I don't want us bringing in anybody that I don't think can beat out Mason and Haskins. I think Carson Wentz, you bring him in here, he has athletic ability. He has a cannon of an arm. He has prototypical size. He's a proven winner. He's won in terms of when he was in Philly. And even though he, dropped a stinker against the Jags the last game of the regular season, we're not going to act like he still wasn't putting up numbers while he was in Indianapolis. We said at times this season he looked like he was returning to form. The issue with him is consistency. And that's something that
he makes the bad mistake too often.
Right. And part of it is because of overconfidence. And you get that. And as a player, you understand it, but that's something that you ask yourself, can you kind of rein that in? Can you clean that up a little bit? Because if you can, and it taps back into more of that MVP caliber Carson Wentz that we saw early
he could be Philly, a franchise guy.
That's different. Absolutely. He's a proven QB1 to me. I just don't think that he's proven that he's a franchise quarterback just yet, but he's proven QB1. And that's the thing that I like about him. I think that, if the number is right, and that's the part, because it's like, if the number isn't good, I don't want him for 25 or 30. I don't want him for that, because I don't think that he's proven he's consistent enough to get that. But if you're talking, 20 as the max, and we working our way back from that, now it's intriguing, because I say to myself, well, he makes you a legitimate contender still. You're still in the conversation. Whereas with Mason or Haskins, we're still more speculative, and we're hoping they can continue to develop. But there isn't a guarantee that that's going to happen. And that's the part for me where I just say, how do we, weigh that right there? And I think of certain, how does it work? Okay, I say to myself, well, Mike Sullivan, what have we seen with him so far? Well, we can definitely point to the fact that he cleaned up Dwayne Haskins' footwork. We saw that in the preseason. We could point to the fact that we felt that Mason looked just calmer and better at times in the preseason this year, to the point where Haskins couldn't even realistically beat him out. To me, that makes me feel confident in Mike Sullivan, who is the current QB coach, not the Penn's coach, our QB coach. So when I think of that, I'm like, okay, I like that. So I say to myself, well, could he continue to have that type of success with the Carson Wentz? And would we be interested in that, or we want to go the other route of drafting a quarterback and just having to mold him from scratch? And that's, my dilemma with it. But a Carson Wentz type, he comes in and he's guaranteed he's your best quarterback on this roster, no debate. It's not is Mason going to beat him out? Like when we say Mariota, it's no guarantee that Mariota is going to beat Mason out. It's no guarantee that Mariota is going to beat Haskins out. Whereas Carson Wentz, we're not having this discussion. And we just feel a lot more confident with his play than a Mason or Haskins type. So that's the only reason, like, for me, he's really intriguing. But I don't want him over that 20. Like, 20 is like the ugh. Like, once we get there, I'm like, I'm good on him because he's not consistent enough to me.
Yeah, I put him in that Jameis Mariota tier. And I'm with you, too. If we bring in Mariota, keep it as a competition. But if we bring in Jameis, he's the starter. If we bring in Wentz, he's the starter. I hate Wentz at the current cap number. And with Wentz versus Jameis, I think Jameis's stock has dropped so much that anything he does right now is like overperforming. Whereas with Wentz, he's been playing these last couple seasons. We saw his last season with the Eagles, terrible. You add that with the cap number, it's just tough. Like his rep has took a pretty bad hit, but at the same time, why would we consider Jameis like that much better than Carson Wentz? I think it's just because he's been a backup, he's been injured, his cap number hasn't been that much. His expectations have been so low, whereas with Carson Wentz, he was supposed to be Philly's savior after they got rid of Nick Foles.
And then when he went to the Colts, he was supposed to revitalize those guys as well and come in there and be, the upgrade.
And he did fine for them. If anything, I think he exceeded expectations coming off of that terrible Philly year. It's just that he made the bad mistakes.
And the Jaguars game at the end of the season is the one that everybody points to.
Yeah, that's the really
when
bad
they say,
one.
man, if you win this game, you're in the playoffs. And granted, the team as a whole didn't play good, but he's the quarterback. And as we always say, the quarterback, you get the praise, but you also get, the downside of it as well when your team doesn't perform because, he's the guy at the helm of it, man. And that was the unfortunate part. But I just think that, man, if the number is right, he is worth the intrigue because you don't get that type of talent anywhere. He's a top pick for a reason. He was an MVP candidate for a reason. I mean, realistically, like we said, man, if he doesn't get hurt, he probably wins the MVP. We can't say that about a lot of quarterbacks right now. We can't say that about any quarterback on our roster right now. Mason isn't even close to that. Haskins isn't even close to that. Whereas, like, we've already seen this guy prove that he can win games and lead teams in two different organizations. So, to me, that does hold a little bit more weight to me, man.
Well, not even that. I mean, outside of the MVP season, he's had about 2 or 3 seasons of like solid productive play. I mean, his rookie season wasn't terrible. It was, I mean, it was a rookie season, but it was really just that terrible Eagles year. Everything else has been due to injuries with Wentz because he had another solid year where he basically carried them to the playoffs with like Greg Ward at receiver. And then last year, when you look at 27-7, he's strung together a halfway decent career thus far. It's just the expectations.
27-7, dude, that is crazy in terms of your touchdown interception ratio. He protected the ball. The problem is, though, when those 7 picks happen, they happen at god-awful times at times. When he plays bad, it just seems to happen at the non-ideal moments. And that's what makes you just feel a little, like, hesitant with him. And then when you look at the contract and you have these expectations, it's that perfect storm where now you get this feeling of, man, I don't trust this guy. Man, I don't really feel confident in this guy. And I think that's more so the issue with him versus him just being a good player or not, because I do think that he is still a good player in this league. He's still young. Like, we can't turn, like, quarterbacks are playing till they're 40. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we can't write a guy off that quick. To me, I just don't think that, that's the best case, but it really depends on the financial element of it. To me, 20, it can't be over that. Because he hasn't proven consistently enough to be a force multiplier.
Yeah. Kenyon Drake, I like that call. Not at that contract. I was reading in that article, they're like, yeah, this Kenyon Drake contract actually isn't that bad. I'm like, what are you talking about? $8 million a year for him? That's terrible.
That's bad.
That was a terrible deal at the time.
Yeah. But you got to remember, though, when they paid him at the time, he was coming off that hot season with Arizona, and that was the situation. And that's
what was weird about this. They already had Josh Jacobs. Why are you paying $8 million for a backup?
But no,
or like a second guy.
But the thing was, though, they were expecting it to be a 1-2 punch because remember, Josh Jacobs, even though he had been balling out, his usage was crazy high. And the whole thing was, okay, how do you kind of protect him a little bit? How do you kind of take some of that burden off? Because I think Josh's second year was when he wasn't banged up, but he slowed down just a tad bit compared to that rookie season where we were like, he should have been rookie of the year and things like that. So that's, to me, more so why they brought in the Kenyon Drake, and why at the time I didn't hate it, because I said, man, at least they're different style players, and Kenyon has shown that, he doesn't mind, being a number 2 or hopping on a moving train in a sense and still giving you productivity because of what he did in Arizona. But when you're looking at this contract now and you're looking at, where he's at in terms of productivity and where he's at in terms of the depth chart, yeah, the contract is terrible. You're paying $8 million to the backup. why are you doing that? You know, when your starter is a Pro Bowler or should be, you know, and he's on a rookie deal, it just doesn't look good. Yeah.
But
and that's my thing. Like,
if they cut him, they cut him and we get him cheap, that could be a nice little 1-2 punch for us.
Yeah. And honestly,
I don't want to trade for him, though, because they're saying if a team trades for him, his cap number goes to 0 for the Raiders.
Right.
That would benefit them. But I don't. How does that benefit anyone else?
Well, tell them it's a package, though. Got to give us Carr, too.
Oof. You know, we'd have to sign Carr, though. That's the only thing
I know. That's definitely the truth, man. Yeah. But he's an interesting player, though, just because, like I said, man, you think of how he can realistically take some of that burden off of Najee. He's a different style of player than Najee. And it will ultimately just continue to extend Najee's career, because right now, if Najee continues on this pace, it's L. Bill all over again. But at least L. Bill got the first couple of years, you know, at a little less usage. He's hopping
good
right
line,
into this thing.
Bennett quarterback.
Yeah, Najee hopped into this day 400 touches year 1. I'm like, bro, that's insane. Like, if that's what
running
you
into brick walls,
like, man, you're not gonna last long in this league playing like that. Like, that's just the nature of it. So that's another reason why I look at King and I say, man, I think that he's a little bit more intriguing as well. But I don't want to trade for him if they release him. Which I mean, if you're the Raiders, you really have to be considering that, because $8 million for him, you have Josh Jacobs. You can go draft a backup running back. You can go draft a Kenyon Drake type or Kenyon Drake light if you need to. And it's not going to cost you nowhere near what they're paying him right now. And now, if they do release him, now it's a different ballgame. Now you're talking about cutting that price in half at least. And I like that.
100%.
Yeah.
You want to go to NFC?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Well, the first one's obvious for me. Eric Kendricks. They cut him, and they might.
No, it's real, because they got a new regime. Remember, that's a whole new staff
regime.
There, man. Yeah.
Bad cap situation right now. Mm-hmm. They would save, it looks like, around $7 or $8 million by cutting them.
Mm-hmm.
I could see it, and if that happens, I mean, he's still considered a top, probably 5 inside linebacker in the league now.
Listen.
Good in coverage.
Facts. Good in coverage. Gets to the ball in terms of creating turnovers. Plays downhill.
The exact guy we would need.
Nimble, athletic, proven commodity, all pro type. Yeah, trust me, I'm a big Eric Kendricks fan, man. I've been watching him for a while now. I mean, the way that he moves, the way he covers in space, the way he matches up with some of the higher end tight ends as well. He's one of those type of guys. Like, it's a rare combination when you get the guys that can run with these speedy tight ends, these fast running backs, but still be able to play in the box, downhill, take on blockers and stuff like that. Kendricks is the total package. That's why, like I said, man, I mean, how long have I, every time we play Minnesota, who's the first guy I always bring up? Yeah, that Kendricks dude, man. Kendricks, that's the one. That's the one you got to worry about, because he is that type of player. But like you said, with the contract, he is not going to be cheap. That's the other thing. So even if they were to release him, I don't think you still getting this crazy steal of a deal. Now, you're going
to have to pay double digits again.
Right. You'll get him maybe on a better deal than what he's currently on, but you're going to have to pay him double digits. But he's worth it. And that's the part of it. But it really goes back to what we said, though, right? If we're going the Carson Wentz route or a higher end quarterback and free agency route, guys like Eric Kendricks probably don't necessarily become in play anymore. But if you're sticking with the quarterbacks that we have in-house and drafting a guy, well, now Eric Kendricks type realistically becomes in play, because you don't mind paying, him 10, because his productivity, think about this, him and Joe Schobert would essentially be getting close to the same, right? Joe's supposed to get, I think, 9, 8, almost 10 mil this year. He's supposed to get 13 this year. So it's not crazy far off in terms of like the number, but think about how far off the productivity is between those two guys on a year in and year out basis, even dating back to this past season.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why for me, it's like, if you're going to go cheap at quarterback, you pay guys like Kendricks. That's the type of people you bring in, because they are definitely going to be force multipliers. They're definitely going to help you in a major way in terms of productivity and creating splash plays for you. So that's why we're kind of like at this crossroads of, he's available if we go this route, but if we go this route for the quarterback, then guys like him aren't available, because it's going to be too much money being spent now.
It makes the Mason option a lot more appealing, especially when you're talking about Mason versus Carson Wentz or Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
It's like, man, if we have Mason, that means we could bring in maybe Kendricks if he's cut, and then also Stephon Gilmore. Then could we add like Cordell Patterson on offense? If you're telling me we could do that, and then if we bring in Wentz, we got to go bargain on all those positions. It almost makes you like, yeah, let's roll with Mason. Let's see what happens. Because the difference between Wentz and Mason throughout careers, yes, it's significant. But for next year,
it's significant. You funny.
For next year, could it be not as significant?
Right.
Or could Mason actually even play better than him? I don't know. Now you're just playing percentages on if he could do that or not.
Yeah.
It feels like Colbert and the Steelers organization are high on Mason, though. They're higher on him than anyone else.
Well, because you have to remember, this is the guy that they drafted. When you draft a guy, when you spend all your time, all your resources evaluating him, and then you get him and you feel like, hey, we had this level grade on him. Think about how we grade our prospects now when we talk about him, right? And we're still like, hey, man, we think this guy can go in the second round, but if we got him in the fourth, it's a steal. They could have said the exact same thing about Mason. Hey, we think this guy has a big arm. We think he has prototypical size. We think he sees the field well. I think he's a first-round talent. Oh, he slipped to the second. Oh, he slipped to the third. Let's get him now. So that's why it's like, man, I could understand if they truly felt that way about him, that strongly about him, that they really want to give him the best opportunity. And they could be saying to themselves, we really haven't given him the best chance to succeed since he's been here. And this is the first year where we're really going to give him that opportunity. And that's why it's like, I can totally understand it if they really, stick with him and go that route, because it just is different when you're the person that has to put your neck on the line for a player, when you're the person that scouts this player, when you're the person that vouches and bangs on the table for a guy like him.
Yeah. Kendricks, Gilmore, Witherspoon, then we still have our draft picks. Mm-hmm. That could be sick.
Yeah.
We really could put together a good team. I have no doubt that we can make the playoffs this year. I really don't.
We are like, because we have enough pieces already in place. It just depends on how we want to improve this roster. If we want to improve the quarterback position drastically, then you go and get you a higher end guy. You spend. But if you don't want to go that route, then like you said, you roll with Mason or Haskins, or you draft a young guy. And then after that, you boast up everything around him. You have to do that part, but it has to be one or the other. And the beauty is, we're going to get a chance. We're going to know within the next couple of weeks. Once free agency starts, man, we're going to have a really good idea. If they go out there and they, secure a big name free agent quarterback, or they go out here and make a marquee move to trade for somebody, then it's like, yeah, we know exactly what the idea is by the time the draft gets here. But if free agency is quiet in terms of no quarterback play, but we're seeing them bring in the Kendricks, or we're seeing them bring in a higher end left tackle or offensive lineman, now we're going to kind of have an idea like, all right, this is what it's looking like here.
The thing with Mason that's frustrating right now is people say, man, he could get the job done. Maybe we can make the playoffs, but we don't think he can win you a Super Bowl, or that whole moniker. I don't know if we could say that officially yet. Mm-hmm. It's just the frustrating thing for me. You know how I am with quarterbacks. I want to know what they're like late game situations, what you're like, all the chips on the table, playoffs. Mm-hmm.
How do you respond in those moments?
We haven't seen that from Mason just yet. I mean, he did have that last drive in the Browns game to get us back into it within a 2-point conversion week 17 in 2020. And we missed on that 2-point conversion from what I remember, right? And we only lost by 2 that game.
That's correct.
So that was kind of nice, but I haven't really seen it at any other point with Mason. Sometimes when young guys come in, you could just see the effect. You could just see people do it, like Joe Burrow.
Right. We said even Lamar. We saw when Lamar came in. We saw we can go down that list of even Baker to an extent when he came in early on. You can see all right, this dude has a little bit something here. He's whatever you call it. He has some of that. Now it ain't consistent enough, but we saw flashes of it at least.
But with Mason, I'm just wondering, do we need to see more of him? That's all. Can we give him some of the benefit of the doubt? It's just frustrating for me not knowing. Like I know what Kirk Cousins is. I know what Jimmy. I know those dudes. It's just like Mason. Could we see him in a matchup versus the Chiefs in the playoffs? Could we see him in a matchup versus the Bills against Burrow? Could we see that? Right now, it's looking like no, so but daunting, I don't want to write it off completely. Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
No, I like that approach. I do like that perspective on it, and because you are right. We did, a lot of guys from that first season just wrote the book, wrote him off and was like, yo, he's trash, he's done. But like we said, he's every time.
And I understand why.
But at the same time, it's like, man, how many young players have we talked about that struggle in their first year? How many young guys do we talk about have to make that second year leap? And he is a guy that we've seen constantly improve. Every time people brings up negative things about him, it mainly is about that first season. And that's the part where it's like, man, if you're judging this guy solely on that first year, I do think you're doing a little bit of a disservice to him because he has shown improvement. He's already shown that. We just haven't seen a big, large sample size of it. But I do think that he has grown a lot more from that first season.
Yeah, and actually, if you want to talk about clutch moments, let's give him some credit for the Lions. It wasn't he wasn't the reason we lost it in overtime.
But think about how many people put that on him. Oh man, he missed that throw in the end zone to Ray Ray. It's like, okay, yeah, he missed that throw. But what about the other throws that he did make? You can't minimize what he did do because of this one error that he had. He's not perfect. That's the reason why he wasn't starting. But at the same time, it's like, no, he's shown that, hey, in a critical situation, in a situation where nobody really could prepare for Ben getting COVID the night before, like, how crazy was that? It's like, man, he goes out there, short notice, crazy weather. Don't forget that also. And he still had this team in a position to win. So for me, man, I don't look at that as a negative. I'm sorry, I don't.
Yeah, it wasn't his fault the defense let up. Was it like 200 plus yards on the ground for the Lions?
And it was like, who's these running backs? Yeah.
Yeah, no name.
That's not even Barry Sanders Swift out there, dude. Like, seriously, man. Yeah. It wasn't even Williams. Think about it, wasn't even Swift or Williams.
No, there was one guy. It was like their third one that really busted off. He busted off like the 50-yarder.
Exactly, man.
Another name I have, I think these are the only two I have for the NFC, is Eddie Goldman.
Oh, okay.
He could be a nice nose tackle compliment for Alualu.
Yes, indeed.
If not the guy. I mean, he could be the guy to start off.
Well, and you got to think too, man, with Tyson coming back from an injury, he could definitely have the nod early on. And I like the fact that he's young. He's 28. So he is a guy that you potentially get on a multi-year, like a 2 to 3 year deal, and he buys in, similar to what we saw with Tyson. Like, I could see a guy like that, man. He's already accustomed to playing on good defenses, so he knows what the standard is. He's played with elite talent, Khalil Mack. He knows, what that standard is like playing with guys like that, because it's different. When you on the field with a guy that's a depot guy, it hits different. Their integrity, their work ethic, it challenges you, it motivates you in certain aspects as well. So yeah, with Eddie, man, he's definitely a guy that will be intriguing, man. Yeah,
because I don't think Higbee's going to be available. Do we really want him? Does he take away from Freiermuth's development? Right.
And Landon,
we would like him as the second guy, but there's no way he wants that. He's a legit starting tight end in the league. He's really good.
Like, our thing is, we just think that Pat is going to develop into that caliber player, and we
better.
Think that
I think better.
Right. Well, no, but I'm just saying, like, we just don't want to do anything to hold that growth back. You know what I mean? That's the whole part with me right now. So I'm with you on that. The other name was Zadarius Smith, because obviously we're always looking for an extra edge rusher. But for me, man, the back injury, dude, you miss, was it 14, 15 games? Now, granted, he came back and still played well, but that's a lot of time to miss with a back injury, man. And once you start getting those, it just makes me nervous that it's going to linger. And if it lingers, now we're, giving you this bloated contract, but we're not getting you on a week in and week out basis. And now we're just going to be feeling bad about ourselves with that.
Okay, so you're having him starter over Highsmith. Like, there's not as much of a rotation then.
Well, dude, no. They would still, like, Alex is still going to play. Don't get it twisted. It would be not a 3-headed rotation, but Zadarius is Zadarius for a reason, bro. Like,
oh, no, he's good.
Alex doesn't have the track record that Zadarius has. That's just the nature of it. And he's done this at multiple spots. Zadarius is as good as advertised. Man, you know how I talk about Zadarius. When he's healthy, bro, I love him as a pass rusher. I think that not only does he utilize, great get off, but his hand placement, his rush plan, and I love the fact that he's having fun. He always celebrates afterwards as well, man. He's just a fun dude to be around when you watch him on that field. He's a leader. Alex can grow and develop into that, but Alex is not that caliber player just yet. And that's why for me, it's like, if you're going to bring him in, yeah, it just makes your room that much better, because Melvin Ingram wasn't even on Zadarius' level right now. You know what I mean? Like Zadarius is a starter. He's the all-pro caliber guy. Like, that's what he is. We hope Alex Highsmith can grow into a Pro Bowler. But Zadarius is an all-pro. Like, to me, it's just, that's why I'm like, it's not a slight at Alex. It's just, this guy has already proven what he can do, and he's done it in the recent. It's not like he was an all-pro 10 years ago, 5 years ago. It's like, nah, this dude was all-pro a year ago before he got hurt. Like, that's what he is.
That's what can make it tough, though, because his contract still probably be in double-digit range.
Yeah.
We're trying to pay that for an outside linebacker, even though we have TJ and Highsmith right now. Yeah, he will be an upgrade over Highsmith. Right. But then if you're also rotating Highsmith in to just pay that much money, it's different with Ingram. $4 million. So if we did $4 million for Smith, It feels like an amazing deal, but I don't think that'll be his contract.
That's not happening. Not even close to that. And for me, if we're talking about paying double-digit money to a linebacker, I don't want to pay it to an outside guy when we really need inside guy. You know what I mean?
That goes to Kendricks. Yeah,
absolutely. That's kind of like my whole thought process with it, man.
Zeke?
But no, man, that was
you thinking Zeke?
Not a chance, bro. Not a chance. I'm all the way cool on Zeke. And you know, I used to be a Cowboys guy. I'm all the way cool on Zeke. Don't want to touch that. Don't even mention that around here. You keep that, Jerry. You keep that, Jerry. But can I interest you in a Pollard though? Is he available?
Yeah, he'd be a nice compliment for Najee.
Absolutely. Come on now. That's funny though, man. All right,
Michael Thomas obviously staying with the Saints.
Yeah, he just restructured, so we're good. Yeah, so I feel like we're pretty much on par with the same people in terms of Kendricks. Yeah.
Goldman.
Kendricks and Goldman. I probably Kendricks 1, Goldman 2 on that list from the NFC. Yeah.
AFC. AFC's more.
Yeah, AFC
Beasley,
had like multiple names, dude. Peters,
Wentz, Kenyon Drake. That's not even including Joe Schobert, just as like a restructure, come back on a cheap deal.
So it's a lot more interesting names in the AFC, a lot more feasible guys, and a lot more guys that just make a lot more sense money-wise. I don't know what these NFC guys are doing with these contracts, but yeah, y'all executives, y'all stay over there. In fact, I should have negotiated my contract with an NFC executive because clearly they pay over there. The AFC, these contracts are, hey man, we're gonna make sure that it's not too crazy. We're gonna take care of you like this, but make sure the team is safe. Yeah, if I do it again, I'm going to the NFC.